You're listening to QCast, presented by Qcella Media. Please consider giving generously to Qcella's nonprofit mission. To find out more about our mission and to make a donation, visit our website at qcast.qcella.org. Your tax-deductible donation will help us continue bringing you quality podcasts just like this one.
I may be bruised, but I'm not broken. You can't take away my soul. You tried to tell me I don't count, but I know in my heart that's not true. So you cannot take me down that path. I'll make it without you. I may be bruised, but I'm not broken. My life counts for something, and you wake up and I'll be gone. You'll know that you were wrong. Welcome to my show, Shades of Gender. I'm your host, Terry Ryan. Each show we're going to be talking about gender identity, including the transgender, cross-dressers, gender fluid, non-binary gender individuals, and all who self-identify within these groups. The definition of these groups are often misused and certainly misunderstood. Our goal is to identify these groups, listen to their stories and their journeys in life to get a better understanding of who they are and what they're doing. This is our second season, and I just want to welcome everyone who's listening, who's listened since the first season and from day one, and to new listeners. And thank you for joining me in this journey in learning more about gender identity and having guests here to help us all learn about what's going on in this space right now. Today, I am very happy to welcome Melanie Jones. Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Terry.
Good to see you.
You too.
Said she's got a great voice. And talk to her. She's in Palm Springs, and we are talking live today, which is great. I like our live talks. And I always start the show with about how you self-identify, or how my guest self-identifies on the gender scale. Mm-hmm. So again, it's radio, and we can't see you right now. And talk a little bit about of where you identify in the gender scale.
So I identify as a lesbian. Pretty simple, easy. I've been out since I knew when I was 12. So I came out, and by the time I was 18, I was clear.
You're clear. So when you say you knew at 12, so when you were, how did you know at 12? I don't know, because I'm not sure I knew much at 12. I wasn't that clear about anything in my life at 12 years old. And I don't even think sexuality was even that clear, but.
Well, when you're that young, really, you're not thinking in terms of sexuality.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, but I don't think so. I can, I can't clearly say that. I think I was just too busy doing other things. I wasn't thinking about sex. So, so it's, 12. So what was that journey like for you?
I just knew that I liked girls.
Okay.
So I didn't have an attraction to boys. By 12, girls, that's starting for them.
Yes, it is.
Oh, he's so cute. Oh, how does my this look? How does that? It's like, well, I don't know. It looked like
not that interested. But that girl over there is darling.
She's cute.
Yeah.
From an innocent point of view.
Right.
It's
yeah.
So clean.
So it is
pure.
kind of, you're right, though. It is for girls especially, because, some girls, are off to womanhood at 12. So they're already menstruating. So their hormones are kicking in. So really they start, as I did, start earlier. So there would be, I guess, as you're saying, a more of a beginning of an attraction. So so that felt normal for you. And,
that's right.
And so where did you grow up?
So I grew up in L.A., in the urban part of Los Angeles, and I grew up in the church. Surprise.
Was it, I don't know, was it Baptist?
A Baptist church.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And, I went all the time. Every Sunday there I was because I was a drummer for the church.
So you started in music early.
Very
right?
early.
Did you come from a music family?
Not really. My family loved music and listening and dancing, but no real musicians. And I wanted to play drums by 12.
All right. So here you are. You're 12 years old, and you knew that you were a drummer. You wanted to do drums, and that you're really like girls. So I mean, early on, you had a pretty self-identifying with both these. Now, how did you feel about church?
Well, church. Well, again, when you're young, church is like you meet all your friends,
right?
And your
you don't question it either. I mean, I know I was brought up Catholic, and of course, I did question it when I was around, 12. Yeah, about that age. I didn't want to finish my final sacrament. I was like, I don't want to do this. And my mom's like, please, just do me a favor, okay?
Yeah.
We raised you Catholic. Just finish that confirmation, and then you can decide what you want to do, which I thought was fair. So I did. Yeah, it was fair. And then I didn't really, that was it really for me. But so how did that work for you with your background? Did you come from a big family?
I'm an only child.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. So everything was on you.
So, I had to be this kind of, in my mom's eyes, not perfect, but, I had to fit within the mode. And, by 16, I was full-blown gay, lesbian, and at church, which is probably the most homophobic place you can be in a black church.
And I just, I want to, I don't know if this is, it's important, but were your parents, what kind of background? Were they working class or they
middle class?
Middle class, kind of.
Middle class. My mom was, she was a teacher, and she graduated from college, and a single mom, trying to raise her kid and trying to do the right thing by her kid.
Right.
And...
So, really sounds like solid, big city, middle class, traditional kind of background. So how did that work then for you? Did you come out at school then? I mean, how did you come out? Because I'm not sure how old you are, but this is probably in the 80s or the 70s?
In the 70s.
Okay.
Well, this was at church. I was brought out by the minister.
Really?
Really.
So how did what happened?
What did that look like, right?
Yeah. Give us a visual on that one.
So I had a girlfriend, and he noticed her because she had that look, that very dykey look. And so he made a mention of it from the pulpit, and he mentioned, one of our little lambs has gone astray. And he looks at her, and then he turns and looks at me because I always sat in back of him with the choir. You're out. At that point, we were out.
Wait. Like, he brought you out, but were you out of the church, or was...
Well, shortly thereafter.
Right. So he said, like, you've gone astray. I don't condone this. And I'm outing you in front of everyone.
And I want...
And
everyone,
your mom was there too, and
everybody,
her mom. Oh my goodness, the whole community,
the whole church community.
It's cruel.
It was.
I mean, that's very cruel. I mean, even for the 70s, that's horrible.
It was very cruel, and I
it's
never
like you don't
back.
count. Yeah, it's like you don't count. You don't count in the eyes of God. You don't. This is a problem with traditional religion, but I don't want to get. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to get on that today. I mean, So how did your family deal with that? And how did you too, of course.
Well, that was my last day in church. On top of that, I was asked not to, play, be involved with the church as a musician anymore, And so that day I packed all my stuff, my drum, and I actually never returned, ever.
Did the pastor have any? Did they, any real evidence on what was going on, or was just a guess on his part?
Just a guess. Mm-hmm. It's not like, we were just friends, me and the girl.
But he just, guessed.
He just saw the girl and thought, oh, no.
Not in my church.
Not in my church. We don't even want to get this going. Mm. And so...
wow. That's like you didn't even have, any opportunity to... I don't know if he would defend that, but to no trial. It was like, okay, that's what I assume that you are. I mean, he was right, but still to not even take you aside and talk to you both and, maybe have that conversation I don't know, it would have been certainly much better than in front of everyone. So,
well, sure.
I mean, my God. So then what did your parents say? Or your mom
my
was
mom,
there?
my mom was wonderful. She was there that day, and, to her credit, because she wasn't happy that, her daughter was gay. But the one thing she did say was, always be yourself. Don't you worry. Just be you.
Wonderful.
She didn't have any more to say about it because she wasn't thrilled about it.
Mm-hmm.
But, she didn't berate me or put me down or any of that. She just left it at that. And
she didn't force you to go. Well, I guess you couldn't have gone to church anyway, right? I mean, it was the pastor's decision.
Well, she would do it in another way. Later, I hope you find a nice young man.
Oh, no.
It's like my mom, but So we always had that type of conversation.
Right. So she, in her own way, still wasn't. It was very hard for her. She didn't accept it. Did she? Oh, as the years went on, did she finally come? No amends on that. Huh? Is she still around?
No, she's gone.
Yeah. So it's hard for people.
It is.
I mean, we're all born with certain ways of looking at the world, and some of us are unfortunately can't see beyond what's current. It's a safety zone for them. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you've forgiven her and realize that she is who she is.
It would be like me asking a straight person to not be straight.
Right. You can only be who you are. Which leads me on who you are. So, you came out, as you said, as a lesbian. By 18, you were, on your way. And music was in your background early on with the drumming. So where did you go from, you're in LA, you're 18, where did you go from there in your life? Did you get in the music industry or, what did that look like for you?
I moved to San Francisco.
Ah, yeah. Good choice.
Good choice, right? I thought, well, if I'm going to be gay...
I'm going to go to San Francisco.
I'm going to San Francisco
And I'm not going to leave my heart there.
That's right. I'm going to go live it up.
Right. Okay, good choice. And it was fun. And this would have been probably then in the, late 70s?
Yeah, something like that.
Right. So, I mean, disco was ending or just kind of dying at that point. And
yeah, and, I went to school there. I went to San Francisco State, and I had a great time. And I just, kind of melted into San Francisco.
Right.
And became a part of that beautiful city.
Right. Yeah, it was so open. I mean, it's been, it's really the city of openness, and I think both intellectually and that's another thing. Mm-hmm. But so, what did you end up? Did you stay up there working, or what did you go to school for? What were you studying?
I was going for psychology because I thought maybe I might want to be a therapist, maybe. But I ended up becoming more involved with music, and God, I was so young then. So I just became involved with music, was doing a lot of drumming and different bands, and eventually moved back to L.A. because that's where the music is, and ended up forming my own all-girl band.
Tell me about that.
Well, that was fun. It was very interesting. It's very difficult to work with an all-female band because it's all female.
You're so funny. So, well, you can say it. I mean, I didn't say it, did I?
It was the truth.
But I mean, how many members did you have?
Oh, my God, too many.
But did you have like 4?
We had 6.
Oh, that's too many. Oh, first of all, too many band members anyway. I mean, this is why the Beatles had 4. And they had a hard time staying together.
See?
So, I mean, and it seems like with bands, you can only stay together so long. I mean, you have all that creative energy, all that emotion, and then someone kind of takes off or is stronger, and insecurity. And, I think most people that perform are insecure anyway, even though they could be absolutely fabulous. So, So what was the name of the band?
Taboo.
Oh, love the name. Mm-hmm. And then what type of music did you do?
We played rock, funk, pop, R&B, dance.
Did you do your own music? Did you write some of your own music?
We did do some originals because my best friend is a songwriter. And so we did some of her work. And
were you in clubs then and playing in clubs?
we were playing in clubs and did some recording, and we traveled extensively. And
throughout the United States?
Throughout the United States. And we did very well.
How many years were you together?
The band, not long. I would say maybe a couple years. And then it just started getting really dicey, and I had to go, this one had to go be with the boyfriend, and this one had to go take care of the dog, and, they had to go live their lives.
Right.
And that was enough of that.
Right.
And,
all good things, unfortunately, come to the end.
That's right.
Too. So that leads me to, because the music is so important to you in your life and in your experience. Tell us about your performing Jessie. There's Melanie has for the audience has an act under Jessie Jones, and it's quite unique and something that is I think has done fairly well. I don't know where you've done with it, so tell us about that and who this Jessie persona is and why you're doing it as a male. And what that means for you in terms of yourself, and if it's just kind of part of who you are, or is it just something that you think is a good act?
Both. Part of who I am and a good act. I started doing drag because no one else was. There were no other drag kings.
From drag queen. Right. I mean, I say queen, right? I mean, we don't say drag king.
King.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And, I had not thought about doing drag ever, but I had noticed that there are so many drag queens here. It's like, well, there must be a drag king somewhere. But there wasn't. So I started searching online really to find out about the king community. Are there any anywhere?
Yeah, so tell me about that. So tell me about the drag king. And again, this would be, a female entertaining as a male versus a male entertaining as a female.
Exactly.
And so you're taking your masculine role. So what did you find out about drag kings?
It's a very interesting community. It's all across the world. London, Japan, Berlin, a huge drag king community that people don't even seem to know about. And it's all different type of people. It's very diverse, different sexualities, different genders. It's just different, And, we have a lot of trans men. They start out as drag kings because that's a way where they can freely, express themselves.
Right.
As a man.
Right.
So they start off thinking, okay, I really want to, change to a man.
Right. So
right.
So I know some women that have, in fact, I a guest on that actually is a trans woman that, actually gender fluid, that said, I really am doing burlesque because I makes a living doing burlesque in addition to writing because it's part of that persona that is deeper into their opposite gender of what they were born with and on that journey toward entertainment becomes it's not, this is why we're doing the show. It's not so black and white, right?
No,
I mean,
it's not.
It's a very colorful, this whole gender identity and you're talking about being a lesbian and talking about the being a drag king. And as you said, the drag kings are trans men that are, many of them, and some of them may be gay, and there's not a clear line, right? On
There's not a clear line. No, I mean some start out as women, dressed as men, and then eventually they're men. They're no longer
Right.
They have transitioned.
Right.
And so much like in the drag queen world, they transition. They start out as men dressed as women, and then they're women. They actually become a woman.
Become women. And, I don't think people are as aware of that. That's interesting because I haven't had a drag queen on here, which I need to.
That's
you
right.
can recommend someone.
Sure.
But when I did my documentary on, started out with cross-dressers in London, we went to Milton Keynes outside of London, which is about an hour outside of London. And we went to a club. It was a former Irish club that no one came because it was kind of this is like where the overflow of London, some public housing and things people went to. So it was a working class area. And they ended up turning it into an LGBT bar, I guess Q, but back then the Q wasn't being used. But what I did see, I spoke with, we were filming 4 couples that were self-identified as cross-dressers, and their wives or partners, and going out for the night at the club. And I wasn't doing the filming, so I was hanging around the club and talking to everyone. And it was so interesting. I went to the bathroom, and there's like 5 of us here, and I'm the cisgender. Then there was a drag queen. Then there was a trans woman. Then there was probably a gender fluid. I mean, the whole. All the girls together were all like, we all had kind of coming at it a different way, which made it quite interesting for this. And then I spoke with the one woman who was exactly that. She was on her way as a, this path of really being on stage as a drag queen. That really was getting to her femme self. So
Sure.
we know that sexuality and gender are different. They're not one and the same. And that's part of the other part of raising awareness with the show is it's not the same. It's different. So further in the drag, so here's a drag king. So as you learned about this, so did you start watching, I'm sure performances and, what the better ones that you identify with, and what are you doing with it now?
So for me, when I first decided, yes, I'm going to do this, then there's the whole thing about the makeup, the clothes, how you present yourself, you go through that whole thing. Are you going to butch it up? Are you going to, who is Jesse Jones? What is he? He's someone I've made up out of my imagination. So I had to really watch a lot of different shows and acts and try to meet as many kings as I could. And once I felt confident enough, then I went out for a competition.
And where was this?
A drag king kind of competition down in Long Beach at Hamburger Mary. It was a huge show, huge. There must have been 500 people in this place. And each one of us were competing, I don't know, for like $100. Wasn't a big deal.
Right.
But it was just the presence of being in front of all of these people.
So what was the competition like? So you had an audience, you got on stage, and you had 3 or 4 minutes to do an act?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a big audience.
Right.
And levels, so as far as I could see.
Wow. So you're on
places,
stage.
I'm on stage.
Wow.
And
big stage.
Big stage. Big.
I didn't know Hamburger Mary's is that big in Long Beach.
It's huge.
Oh, okay.
And I decided I was going to do a ballad.
Oh, okay.
It was like, well, you're all that. You're going to do a ballad in front of all these people. Good luck. So I did. They went berserk.
What did you sing?
I sang this ballad called Can I? It's a beautiful, I'll play it for you.
Okay.
And they just loved it.
Oh, so it was an immediate success.
It was an immediate success. They bought Jesse. That was the big thing for me. Are they going to buy this guy? Melanie, really?
Yeah.
They bought him.
Wow.
And the other thing that I did that was a big thing was performing at the Copa.
Right. And for, again, people not in Palm Springs, the Copa is a nice little club area. Mostly drag, right?
No, actually, Copa
is
a little bit of everything.
Okay. So it's a nice club in Palm Springs that I guess then has a number of different acts.
Yes. So my first show there, there was an article that came out first about a drag king who's a drummer. So here in Palm Springs, that's like, oh my God, honey, let's go. You know, get your coat. It's packed. I'm like, oh my God, no.
So, I mean, like there you are.
Here I am.
With this big audience again.
A big audience again.
So this real interest in being and seeing a drag king.
That's right.
You know, and again, you're obviously talented musically too. So you know, with your long line of music, you know, you can play. What is your main drums? Did you say drums?
Yes.
So drums, and your ability, I'm sure, to sing, and you've been
Can't
on
sing.
stage before. You can't sing.
Can't sing, but I can lip sync really nicely.
Okay. So do you do that in your shows?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first, when you were in Hamburger Mary, so you lip sync?
Yes.
Okay. So it's about the onstage performance. So it really is about you being the king and being the drag queen and really passing for that king. So
That's right.
I know you've got more into character, and I did see something on just on your social media that you shaved your head. Mm-hmm. And was this something that you did for your role, or is this something you did for yourself, or was it kind of both?
I did it for myself, and I believe that is the moment that Jesse evolved. Mm-hmm. I think that was the step where I saw him for the first time. Was shaving my head. I had had enough with the whole hair thing.
Yeah, don't we all? I mean, I think of all the time we have. I mean, I just, every day I slay my hair. I mean, I'm excited to have it, but yeah, that's nice. You
Right?
Just kind of put a little lotion on there and you're ready to go.
5
Right.
minutes.
And you've got a
Yeah.
beautiful face, so you can pull
Thank
it
you.
off. Yeah, a nice smile, so you probably didn't need it anyway, right?
I just couldn't take
But
it another
did you
minute.
feel, Jesse, this is something, again, back to the gender portion. So are you feeling Jesse in you? Beyond an entertainer, I mean, when you say part of Jesse, I mean, is there, as you said, are you starting to cross? Again, it's evolution, but the more you are performing as Jesse, is Jesse just kind of staying as a performance, or are you finding that Jesse is becoming that male side of you is getting stronger?
That's a really good question, because I thought that's what would happen, is that I would become more butch, more, but what Jesse has done for me is allowed me to get more in touch with my feminine side, which is kind of weird to me, but it's true.
Right. So as opposed to your character, you still are more feminine because you're taking on, I guess would be like any kind of a drag, anything, it's a stereotypical role you're taking on. It's unidimensional, right? Because, most drag queens, it's just is what a woman should be. It's kind of Barbie-like and a lot of makeup and, big lashes. And you're probably doing the same thing with the king. You're taking on that stereotypical male role.
Right. Right.
The one gender. So, because I know in your act, you wear suits and top hats, and I think you put on some mustache and right,
I do
the
a
whole thing.
goatee and
Who's your
sideburns.
audience?
Who's my audience?
I mean, who's coming? Is it
Everyone comes to the shows.
right? Well, because you're good. I mean, everyone's looking for a good show, and it's
Right.
it's unique. It's different.
It
you know?
is. It
So-
is. And the group I work with a lot of times at the Copa, the show itself is a strong show.
Right. Right.
So there's like 4 or 5 of us performing, queens and then myself.
Oh, I see. So it's part of a group. Now, so tell us, are you still performing? Do you have any kind of frequency there, or do you have a next show that someone may want to go to, or?
I am not booked there at the moment. I will be in March.
In March.
I'm taking February, but March.
How do they reach you if they want to know more about you?
They can go on my Facebook page, Melanie Jessie Jones. Melanie Jessie Jones.
One word. Okay. And fine, because then you'll have your schedule when you're up, and if you're in the area and you want to see it. I have one last question for
Yes.
you. So, in this world of transgender, dual gender, queer, which is a new Q. Now, I really like your take on this. because the LGBTQ, I've got some gay friends that said, no, it's just we're going back to our roots as being called queer. And yet I'm having some of my non-conforming gender identity or dual gender people starting to claim it. So what do you think the Q means in the LGBTQ community? What's your interpretation of the Q, and what group, should the gay community have two acronyms, or do you think that it's a more of a gender? Because I originally looked at it as gender questioning, so, and I even wrote about it. So I don't know, because I think trans is different now, because trans is locked into a position.
My understanding is Q is for questioning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the way I saw it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you're in the LGBTQ that I've heard a lot of my gay friends and gay acquaintances say, no, that's just, and especially the younger, that's how you define it. It's Q. And that means that we're going back to queer. And it's like, no, the queer, you gave up queer and you went to gay. Mm-hmm. And now we're doing questioning. And I think it should be. I was so excited when the Q came out, and because I wrote an article on for the cross-dressers, which seeming like such an archaic term. No one likes that term anymore. And I understand that, because it doesn't give a credence to be part of the rainbow when it should, because this is all gender identity. This is not a fetish. I mean, there's some fetish in everything. But we're talking about the 80% of the cross-dressers that are truly gender, dual-gendered, and somewhere on the spectrum, maybe trans, maybe, but they are truly at the point that they are to be able to affix to part of the rainbow and be acknowledged.
Exactly.
And so important, I think.
And the thing with questioning, I see questioning people as people who know they're not straight. So they're questioning, well, I know I'm not straight, but I'm somewhere in that community.
So could be, it's a catch-all for kind of a holding place on being part of the rainbow, but not locked in necessarily to a position, or I guess not locked into something yet. It's, I know there's a role for it, and I think it'll probably, as time goes on, get more deeply defined.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think right now, and even on this non-binary, and we're in a society of labels, but I think it's nice to have kind of a place for people that are knowing that they're on their journey, because as we know, these journeys don't happen overnight.
That's right.
Yeah. So
right.
Listen, I just want to thank you, and
I
look forward to having you back, and then we can next time we'll talk about. There's so many things to talk about.
We can just chat.
We'll talk music and politics
That's
and
right.
religion and where we are today in our society,
and
all this, and love and happiness. And you're really, really the best. So thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie. And I want to thank my audience again for being part of the show and listening to the show, Shades of Gender. And I really am so happy that you were able to join me and keep coming back. And thank you so much for listening today. Thank you, and have a great night.